Hello and welcome back to A Method to the Madness, the fortnightly podcast where we discuss, analyse, and otherwise ponder our favourite films and television. I'm your host Patrick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host Mitchie.
Hello.
And this week, at the behest of my Uncle Dan, we are covering the 2010 film True Grit.
Wow, is this a custom, like a, what do you call it, a viewer request?
Yes, it is. Although, I kind of messed up.
Why?
After watching, I realised that he probably meant the 1969 film starring John Wayne, because he is an older gentleman.
Nah, can't assume that.
But I feel like he told me this.
Right.
I'm not very good at listening. He knows this. Anyway.
Well, I mean, they got the same names,
But
so I can see the confusion.
I doubt that it would have been any better than this film anyway. So, like...
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'd much rather this.
So, True Grit is a 2010 film directed by Joel and Ethan Coen, also written by them, based on the novel by Charles Portis, starring Haley Steinfeld, Jeff Bridges, Matt Damon, and Josh Brolin.
What
As
a
always,
cast.
we'll go around. Yeah, that's pretty standard for Coen Brothers.
Yeah. This is our first Coen Brothers film.
I know, what a weird
yeah.
film to do. Out of all their magnificent films, we chose this one. Anyway.
Hey, okay, well, you want my first impressions?
Yeah, go for it, man.
I actually, unpopular opinion, I actually like this more than No Country for Old Men.
What?
Because, like, I don't know, like, I've only seen both once. Actually, that's a lie. I've seen this when I was fucking young, like, when it first came out, so I don't really remember it. But so it's sort of my first viewing. But No Country for Old Men, when I watched it the first time, I enjoyed it in a more ostensible sense, where, like, the action scenes were good. I liked the villain in it. But everyone was talking about, like, oh, it's got all this deep meaning, like, it's such a great movie, and there's all these philosophical implications in it. And when I watched it, I was trying to feel that and look for it, and I couldn't get it. So, like, and you know, so it wasn't actually, I didn't get that full kind of understanding that a lot of people seem to do with that movie. And this movie doesn't really have those things at all, but it's a fucking really good, like, really well-made movie. Like, I enjoyed the shit out of it. It's funny, like, it's got good comedy in it. The action's great. The acting is superb. Like, it's just, and while there's no, like, deep implications and philosophy behind it, it's still just really enjoyable. So, like, I actually just ended up on a first viewing liking this more than No Country for Old Men. So I mean, I really like this film. I thought it was great. Like, it's just a good movie. Like, I know it's not I'm not going to watch it again and try and, like, analyze it or something like that. I think just overall it's a really solidly made film. Well, I mean, what do you think? You obviously like No Country for Old Men more.
Yeah, I mean, same as you. I've only seen it once,
Yeah.
about, like, maybe 5 years ago, so my image of it was a bit blurry.
Yeah.
And it was before I was way more literate in film analysis. But it would behoove me to watch it again. Pessimism is always an easy thing to analyze. You know, like, it's always... You always can spot that there is some deeper meaning that is trying to be conveyed.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about the Coen Brothers is they just, like, swing back and forth from, like, optimism and pessimism, it seems.
Yeah.
And they have, like, this huge range in their stories,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of True Grit, it's kind of confounded me since we do this podcast where we analyze movies. I don't know if there is much to analyze about this movie. It is just a very well-crafted movie, like, very competently made, enjoyable. I feel like it's comparable to, like, a Marvel film almost. It's like a Marvel Western.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I had a good time with it. It was enjoyable.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
It was well crafted, but it wasn't... The plot was predictable, but everything else about it was, like, pretty unique.
Yeah.
All the characters were, like, really enigmatic, and
Yeah.
the interactions were weird, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just, yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Will you take us through a plot summary, please?
Sure. So, True Grit. 14-year-old Mattie Ross travels to Arkansas to hire a sheriff who will bring justice to Tom Chaney for murdering her father. She chooses Rooster Cogburn, a curmudgeonly older man who initially refuses her. The next day, Texas Ranger LaBouffe arrives, telling her that he too has been hunting down Chaney for killing a Texas state senator. Despite their differences, Cogburn and LaBouffe team up with Mattie to apprehend Chaney. However, quite quickly, their differences become too much and Cogburn and LaBouffe part ways. That night, Mattie and Cogburn stumble onto a house where the two men inside are revealed to be associated with our villain Chaney. An altercation ensues and the two criminals wind up dead. Cogburn and Mattie plan to ambush the bandits, but LaBouffe shows up just before the gang does, ruining their plan. LaBouffe gets injured and Chaney gets away. The next morning, Mattie sees Chaney by a river and is subsequently kidnapped. Cogburn, working with LaBouffe, successfully fooled the bandits into thinking they were leaving. Instead, LaBouffe successfully rescues Maddie, and Cogburn kills the bandits. However, Maddie is being bitten by a rattlesnake, and with the poison slowly killing her, Cogburn rushedly rides her back to town to see a doctor. We cut to a scene with Maddie many decades later. She is alive but has lost an arm from the snake venom. She receives a letter from Cogburn saying he will be passing through town and wants to see her. Matty doesn't find Cogburn. His associates inform her that he died just a mere 3 days prior. End movie.
End movie.
You know how... Okay, yeah. You know how, like for me, right? For me to actually solidly enjoy a movie and not get bored halfway through, like I appreciate good movies, right? But that doesn't mean I fully enjoy all of them. And there's quite a lot of movies that are like, you know, like I find to be like very well made movies. They're good movies. But then as you're watching it, you're kind of like, yeah, look, I could probably go and take a break right now. I could go for a piss. I could, you know, go and have some food, get a drink or something like that. Because they never they don't 100% hook you. But that's what I got with this movie. I just was hooked the whole time. Like, it's just so enjoyable that you just end up watching it for the full length of it. And that's, you know, that's an achievement in itself, even though it might not be like, you know, held up as this venerated movie in the hallmarks of cinema.
Yes, I 100% agree, man. I'm a bit ashamed to admit this, but most movies I watch nowadays, I pause at least maybe twice and, like, you know, do something.
I try not to, yeah, but yeah, I see what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, and similarly with this movie, I didn't pause it once. I just watched it all the way through.
Yeah.
I've been trying to watch Charlie Kaufman's newest film, I'm Thinking of Ending Things, and I've watched like half an hour intervals at a time, and I'm still only about halfway through it. Because that movie it's interesting, don't get me wrong, I am curious to see what happens, but it is just not a movie that hooks you, as you say, like, you know, there's not much momentum.
Yeah. You don't feel invested.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose. I do feel invested in those characters in that film, though, in the Charlie Kaufman one, but if I can pause it, then why not, you know?
yeah. And actually, before you start, I think people kind of got the same gist as well, because, like, this was really, like, the critical reception for this was really high. It actually got nominated for 10 Academy Awards, which is a fucking lot.
Yep.
Like, I didn't know that. Like, you know what, last week when we said we were going to do this, and we're, like, doing it because your uncle recommended it, and then we're both like, oh, why are we doing this? It's like I knew in the back of my head this is a bad movie, but now I watched it again. It's actually not a bad movie, and it got nominated for 10 Academy Awards that year, but it didn't win a single one.
What?
So everyone was kind of like, oh yeah, fuck, this is such a good movie, we'll nominate it. But then when the judges and the critics are like, oh, you know, maybe should we actually give it this award? They're like, nah, not really, because this isn't a movie that's gonna last. You know, it's not gonna be remembered. It's just a good movie, and, you know, in 30 years time the odd person is gonna come across it, but they won't, like, have heard about it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Did it come out the same year as Social Network?
Yeah, it did, and it got nominated for more awards than that.
What?
Although Social Network, of course, won 2 or 3, but yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll get into some analysis if there is any. Alright, what do you think the horse represents, Mitchie? Why does it linger on the horse? Why does it seem to have a connection with Maddie on, like, a deeper spiritual level? Why does Jeff Bridges kill it at the end? What does that represent?
It's a cowboy movie. They fucking ride on horses, and girls love horses.
Oh, you think it's a girl thing?
Yeah, I see it as like actually, yeah. I mean, that's a valid theory, and I actually probably associate it with her being a girl, because that's unusual, having a girl as a protagonist in a way, the main character, as well as her being very fucking young. Yeah,
typical revisionist Western kind of thing. It's the main character's a woman or a black man or a Chinese man. That's a
Right, what does the film represent? Horse, sorry, not film.
I think the death of it, because, you know, the connection it has with Maddie being this, like, really youthful kid with a lot of vitality. Perhaps it being a revisionist Western is meant to represent, like, the romanticized view of the Wild West movies, and then what is denoted by its death is the dissolution of that. I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch, and it's a bit, like, I don't know why they would have to symbolize that in a horse, though.
Yeah, why is it the horse specifically?
Yeah, I don't know, like, because it has, as I said, it's like a reflection of Maddie's, like, youthful view of the setting through her eyes, and then as she gets older, you know, she has more of, like, a pessimistic view, it seems. when she's like an older woman. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, like, so the death of the horse is the birth of her true grit, if you will.
Yeah.
And dude, what a mean thing to do to fucking stab the horse though. That got me a bit.
Which one?
When Jeff Bridges is riding it, and it's kind of slowing down, then he gets out the knife and he fucking stabs it.
Oh yeah. Uses it like, I mean,
I didn't like that
isn't
at all.
that what the spurs on their boots is basically serving the same function. It's doing the exact same thing. It just stabs him in like the side.
Yeah. It's terrible, man.
Yeah, but yeah, it wasn't nice.
Yeah.
It wasn't there something about the production of this where the horse, when it swims across the river, they actually made the horse do that?
No, I think you're thinking of Neverending Story. I think David was talking about it, right?
Yeah. Was David not? Oh, was it not this film? I mean, they could have anyway.
No, yeah.
How do you make
maybe
a horse swim across the river then?
Without horses can swim.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, what is it about it? Like, why do people? Can you just make it swim across? Isn't that bad? Animal rights and
well,
shit?
isn't the? I mean, I'm assuming this horse was trained to swim across.
Yeah. Right, okay. I mean, true. Yeah, it's kind of a dodgy thing. But yeah, when I watched this film many years ago, literally the one thing I remember from this is that they ran a horse to death. And I was pretty young when they watched it. I think I was probably like 12, 13 when I watched it. And I was watching it, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is the horse dying? Like, he hasn't done anything. Like, sure, he gave it a stab, but obviously that wouldn't have killed the horse. I'm just like wondering, like, what's wrong with it? And then my dad was like, yeah, you can run horses to death. Basically, they'll just keep running until they die. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how does that even work? Like, could we do that? Could we just run forever and then just die while running? Like, I don't know. It's just such a weird.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, like it's like overfeeding fish. Like fish eat too much and they die. And it's like, bro, like just stop eating. But like anyway.
I mean, I guess that horse didn't really have a choice. It was keep running or get stabbed.
Yeah, true. That's true. I guess if I kept running after getting stabbed, and I probably should have stopped, I'd die too. Yeah.
We have miles yet. Come on, you!
No!
That's it. Come on now.
No, stop! He's getting away.
Who's getting away, sis?
Cheney.
Yeah, okay. Say that is what the death of the horse meant to symbolize, right? The death of like this idealistic view of the Wild West.
Yeah.
And, sort of conflating that with the overall genre of this film being a revisionist Western. What I don't understand is that everything, like, as I said, the plot is very predictable. Everything plays out exactly how you think it would.
Yep.
If this was like a really like anti-Western,
Yep.
I feel like they wouldn't catch the killer at the end, and it would have just left off on a more unfulfilled and dreary note, like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they did in No Country for Old Men, another Coen Brothers film. So I guess with this one, it isn't necessarily an anti-Western. It might be like one of those like post-Western situations where you make the full round from to cynicism and then back to traditional optimism.
Yeah, because most of it feels traditional.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I guess the main character, Cogburn, is a little bit, like he's not representative of a true hero. And that's one thing I noticed in this is like the idea of heroism is sort of similar in vein to No Country for Old Men, where like the main character tries to be a hero but can't or doesn't. But in this case, obviously, True Grit, he really does. He saves her in the end and stuff and then dies. But like Tommy Lee Jones's character in No Country for Old Men, he like, he's so fed up with trying to be a hero. Like, it's difficult in this hard world. And I guess they're kind of maybe opposites in a way is probably the better way of looking at it.
Yes. Yeah, that's a...
And actually, before the dreary note thing, I think in this is the fact that she never meets him because he dies. What's the fucking point of that? It's like you said, like, maybe that's what makes it revisionist, like it's rather than, sure, you could not capture the villain. That'll be the ultimate way to make it like anti-Western, but another way is that they just never meet each other, and they don't.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It is kind of a down ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of like the heroics of the two main characters, I like how their morality is kind of weird. LaBeef and Cogburn have a conversation earlier in the film where they talk about their roles in the American Civil War, right? And they were both in the Confederacy. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they were both on the same side.
But they were both, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but the Confederate side of the American Civil War is generally considered to be like the kind of not good side, right? Like, because they wanted to keep the slavery.
Yeah, generally, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so, then that's quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, implying that they're racist, maybe, more than likely. And...
Well, they are. Didn't they make a few comments here and there? Like, I swear the N-word was said at one point.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, this movie has a weird attitude toward race, man. Like, remember at the beginning when they're hanging those people, they have those two people get their last words, and then the Native American dude starts speaking. They immediately put a bag over his head. Don't even let him talk.
And you got the little black kid as well that was holding a horse. And when she leaves, she says something about the owner of the horses, and he's like, clearly shows that there was a little bit of abuse there or mistreatment.
Yeah. I mean, I think the racism is implied, but the film doesn't dwell on it at all. It rigorously maintains this very Pollyanna attitude.
Yeah.
It's very weird. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, it's authentic. I think that maybe that's what.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to describe it. It is authentic, right? Like racism was so far of an abstract concept for people back then that it wasn't even something you considered really.
No.
Yeah, it was I think this is a good reflection of that.
Yeah.
Also, LaBeef is a bit of a creep, saying that he was thinking about kissing Maddie when she was asleep.
Yeah, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Is he a creep, or is it that a thing back then? Like, trying to be like fatherly person, kissing this girl while she's asleep?
Either way, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, seeing this, I can only imagine what the 1969 film would have been like. Fuck. I mean, I've never seen any John Wayne films, but I've heard stuff about its disposition toward now contemporary issues.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, I like how again more doubt is cast on Cogburn's morality at the beginning of this trial. He's like, they confront him about moving the bodies, and he starts blundering. He's like, oh, well, I don't know. I maybe might have moved them. I can't remember. And
yeah. That bit was good. Yeah, he's just such a good character. Like, when he's drunk and he's trying to shoot the shit in the air and he's missing it half the time. Like in that sense, I guess, in the traditional Western, he still would have hit it anyway. I
mean, that's still, even while drunk, he got some of them. He's a pretty good shot.
Yeah, true.
That's something that tickles something in my brain when in westerns when people are really great sharpshooters. That's why I love Django so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying before, the plot of this movie is traditional, everything else isn't. And so, what's up with all these fucking weird enigmatic characters? Do you remember the witch doctor they come across?
Yeah. Yes, I do. But I didn't really think about it until now.
Yeah.
The one that buys a body, right? That buys a dead hung guy.
Is that... No, that was...
He buys it off them.
That was...
Yeah, he's like, he buys it, or no, he just gives it to them maybe, but then he sells the teeth to some other bloke? I can't remember.
I think there was one guy who claimed the body. Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah, and then that witch doctor dude bought the body off that other dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why was he in the movie? What was he doing?
Yeah, what was he doing?
I thought maybe when Cogburn was riding with Maddie at the end, he was going to come across him again and then get some antidote for the venom.
Yeah, that would have actually been alright, actually.
Yeah, that would have made sense. Instead, he's just this random wild card that shows up.
Yeah.
Also, Tom Chaney being this kind of not totally deplorable dude. You expect a villain in a Wild West movie to be this really kind of dirty, hunkered down guy, right?
Yeah.
With rotten teeth. But he's just kind of this mild dude. And also... the leader of the gang that he's with, the main outlaw dude, he's kind of honorable too. He's he delivers, or he makes sure Maddie is safe.
Yeah. Ned Pepper, right? Lucky.
Yeah. Just more things that threw me through a loop and just kept me engaged.
Yeah, no, it's a great movie, and I mean, you're right. There's not much to say, but man, you can't really flaw the movie though. Can't say there's anything wrong with it.
It's true.
Apparently, just found this out. You got this all-star cast. J.K. Simmons was in this movie as well.
When?
He was only voice. He was Maddie's lawyer when she talks on the phone with her lawyer. Apparently, that's J.K. Simmons, which I'm surprised I didn't even recognize because he's got such a recognizable voice. But
it's true.
No, right.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else. I mean,
it's a fun movie. We wanted to do something fun. We got a why do I keep saying customer? What the fuck? Viewer recommendation, but we probably fucked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's alright. It's alright. I don't think the 1969 movie would have been better than this one.
If you listen to this, Patrick's uncle, and you meant 1969 True Grit, watch the 2010 True Grit because it's fucking good.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. Alright, do you have any recommendations for this week, Mitchie?
Yeah, I do actually. So I was gonna say Logan because cowboy heroism, that kind of shit. But there's a pretty good. It's alright. It's not a great movie, but it's called Strangerland with Hugo Weaving and Nicole Kidman, and it's sort of like it's sort of more similar to No Country for Old Men, I guess. It's like a modern Western, but it's in Australia, like outback Australia.
Those are called meat pie westerns, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Meat pie westerns.
The subgenre of Australian westerns, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's alright. I want Strangerland.
Have you seen Mystery Road?
Mystery Rogue?
Mystery Road.
Oh, no, but I've heard of it. Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's a like an Australian detective story. It's like this Indigenous detective goes in searching for a missing girl. It's pretty good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's some weird, like, or Cargo. Have you seen Cargo?
No. Isn't that with Martin?
Yeah, Martin Freeman. He's in it, and it's a zombie movie, but it's
Yeah.
like Indigenous Australia. It's fucking weird, but it's a good movie.
I didn't know that was set in Australia.
Yeah, it's like got like Indigenous people in it and stuff. It really focuses on Aboriginals,
Because
Australian Aboriginal people.
I remember when I was in uni, because that movie is based on a short film called Cargo, and they showed us that short film in uni.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember. I remember at the time they were telling us about how it's being made into a feature film.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. My recommendation, if you want some more irreverent kind of westerns, the Coen Brothers' other film, Ballad of Buster Scruggs, is very funny and witty.
Yep.
If you want a more serious badass western, go watch Django Unchained by Tarantino.
That's great.
If you want a even more hardcore and possibly more philosophically deep film, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to. Unforgiven by Clint Eastwood, I believe, is supposed to be a very good western.
There you go. It's like we've talked about like 8 movies in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, there you go. 8 for 1 deal.
Yeah.
All right. Where can people find us, Mitchie?
People can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Stitcher. We have a website, amttm.com, where you can find our Facebook and Instagram pages. And if you have any questions, queries, or doubtful points, send through to mail@amttm.com. And visit zeroindent.com for similar content.
All right. So join us next week for
Magnolia. PTA.
Yeah. Have you seen any PTA films?
Only The Master.
Okay. The only one I've seen is Phantom Thread. All right. Yeah.
Maybe a good
Join
one.
us next week for that. And we'll see you later.
Cool. First Tom Cruise film too.
Yeah, true. All right. See you later.
Bye.